Today, I want to cover some things that you should expect and look out for at your first internship or first full-time job, or in general if you're new to the tech industry. Hi, I'm Laura, a PM working in tech, and on my channel I cover my life working as a PM, my life working in tech, and other computer science-related advice. In this video, I want to cover 3 green flags and 3 red flags for a total of 6 different flags and things to keep an eye out for at your next internship or full-time job. I'll also alternate back and forth between these so you have green, then red, etc. So without further ado, the first green flag is that you have a manager looking out for your success. Who your manager is and the relationship that you have with your manager can actually have a pretty big influence on your success and overall satisfaction at your company. Let's think about it. Your manager is going to be at least a senior or principal software engineer, PM, designer, what have you, and they have relevant industry expertise to be hired into this role in the first place. Also, because they are sitting one level above you, they have a little bit higher visibility into the leadership priorities of the organization and the kind of work that's going to be funneling down to you and your team. As a good manager, they should also be keeping in touch with you, asking for your opinions and your goals and input, generally speaking, when it comes to how you want to grow your career and where you want to be in a few years. Your manager will then take all the information they know about you, including your goals, aspirations, your career dreams, etc., and plug it into a magic formula. Because of this, hopefully you'll get placed on things that you enjoy doing, grow your skills in areas in which you think you need to grow, and help you develop your strengths and weaknesses further. In essence, if you feel like you don't really get along with your manager or your manager doesn't have your best interests at heart, you should really take the time to reevaluate and see what you can do here. I know that sounds weird in a vacuum, but trust me, the relationship with your manager really matters. Your manager also doesn't have to be your BFF by any means, but just a normal, casual, professional relationship is perfectly okay. Sometimes you may also just really not get along with people, and that's also okay. Again, try your best, and if it really doesn't work out, then maybe you consider exploring other opportunities too. The first red flag to cover is a lack of visibility or insight into what the organization or leadership are doing. I don't mean micromanaging every one of your teammates and asking what they're doing on a day-to-day basis, but I just mean generally speaking what kinds of projects they're working on, what kind of work they're doing, and again, how it all bubbles up into the priorities that the leadership has determined for your organization or team. If you don't have great insight, especially as a new grad, then you probably feel a little bit disjointed, disconnected, or otherwise feeling lost in your overall team. But let's back up for a second. What do I really mean when I say visibility? This can come in a few different forms, but the most common ways I've seen it is things like strategy or vision papers being passed down by leadership and encouraging people to take a look and leave any comments or questions that they might have. This can also mean conversations with your manager, understanding what the charter and vision of your team is supposed to be, or this can also mean having conversations with your leadership themselves and asking what they see as the future of the team and the direction that the team is moving into. So why is lack of visibility so bad? Joining a company remote as a new grad is already a layer of separation and disconnectedness, and adding the extra layer on top of just feeling unwelcome, unsure, and generally unaware of what's going on is just another slap to the face. If there isn't a lot of direction or focus on what the organization is supposed to be moving towards and it's not clearly communicated, then the work that you're doing also probably feels pretty sporadic, one-off, and you don't actually know what metrics to measure that count towards success. This leads to a lot of wasted time across the organization and also just projects that are thrown away after no one decides to care about them anymore. You're also probably not doing promotion or high rewards level work because you're not getting directives from the leadership on what they want to see. The second green flag is going to be a culture that is highlighted and very transparent across and shared among leadership. The current team that I'm on actually does such a fantastic job of demonstrating, showing, and highlighting their passion for culture and making sure that everyone knows what the culture in our organization looks like. My manager also frequently brings up points about culture and some discussions that they've had at leadership level, which I really appreciate and wouldn't have insight into otherwise. When I was interviewing with this team, everyone that I talked to really highlighted and impressed upon the culture for me, and I thought that that was a really good sign. I do truly believe that culture is such an important factor that may be a little bit overlooked or stigmatized when it comes to deciding your first full-time job and figuring out where you want to go. If you have an intern at the company that you're going to work full-time for, it's going to be a little bit of a shot in the dark as to what the culture looks like and how you'll feel when you're actually there. But do note that even if you experience the culture on a single team, especially at large companies, the culture is going to look so different from team to team, organization to organization. Take what people say with a grain of salt. However, if you are hearing mostly positive reviews, then it's probably a good thing. On the other hand, if you are hearing negative things, then overhauling culture is going to be a pretty lengthy and troublesome task. If you're already at a full-time job, or maybe at the end of your next internship, take a good look and reflect on how you feel being on that team. Although I certainly can't define everything, I think a few good key indicators of a positive culture are going to be transparency, honesty, trust, and just overall the passion that people have for sharing this culture and making sure that this culture is followed and shared across all the employees within the company / organization / team. Now let's look at red flag number 2, high attrition across the organization, team, or company. If other people are jumping ship at a rapid pace and they've been with the company, organization, or team for a couple months or years, then there's probably some sort of indication that something's going on, and you should keep your ears and eyes open. Are these people on your immediate team? If so, then you should probably take a really good look at what's going on and why these people are leaving. At large tech companies, there's kind of a built-in understanding of attrition and how that works across the company to average out stats. When you do see people starting to leave though, and in rapid quantities, you can also take the time to chat with them and see why they're leaving and where they're going. Are they switching internally to a different team or organization, or are they leaving the company entirely for particular reasons? If there's a continuous stream and the team or organization is basically bleeding out, then yeah, you should probably take a look and see what's going on. But even if you absolutely do love your team, here's another downside of high attrition within your organization. High attrition means your company is probably also going to be rapidly hiring to fill in these people who have left, and with new people coming in and old people leaving, there's going to be a huge gap of knowledge in the intermediary term. It's going to take a ton of time and money to replace the people who have left, and factor in the time that it'll take for people to onboard and also ramp up to the projects that people have been working on. It's going to be a long time before concrete progress can be made. Projects can also just get easily forgotten or dropped, which circles back the idea of thrown away projects and a lot of wasted time across the organization. The third green flag, and hopefully an obvious one, is going to be getting along with the people on your team. You're going to be spending the majority of your time with the people that you're going to be working with, so I would really hope that you get along with them or at least tolerate them in some sense. You should probably like them and also get to know them as a person beyond what they do at work. Of course, there's some people who are pretty closed off and just think that work is work and personal life is personal life, so also respect that. But for me personally, I really do enjoy getting to know people, what they do outside of work and what makes them tick. And that's also one of the first things that I like to ask when I get to know them and schedule a meeting with them. I'm super fortunate with the people on my team, and everyone is within roughly the same age bracket, so there's a lot of shared interests, common hobbies, and easy conversation topics to pick up along the way. That being said, it's not impossible to be friends or acquaintances with people who are in different life stages than you, but it is just a little bit harder because you're in different stages of life. You have different things to talk about, different things that are your priorities, and different things that are stressing you out on a day-to-day basis. I think that also just hammers in the fact that it's really important to lean in on the things that you do have in common and see how you can develop the conversation further on those topics. Other things to look for is, does your team have any team building activities? On my team, we have a weekly team building meeting where we just play games, hang out, and talk with each other, and it's a nice way to decompress. Does your team do morale events or coffee chats or something of the sort where you can get to meet these other people on your team and just get to know them on a more friendly, casual basis? Even though my team does have a weekly team building event and we're also pretty casual, I did still take the initiative to schedule one-on-ones, and it helped me feel a lot more comfortable and at ease talking to these people moving forward. The third and last red flag is people always pushing off meetings or not meeting deadlines when it comes push to shove. This is mostly just a quality of life thing, but think about how annoying it is if someone just always pushed a meeting, never showed up, or never showed up on time to any of your meetings that you scheduled. It's also just pretty annoying people show up and a meeting that you've needed to have for 2 months just keeps getting pushed because of conflicting schedules, and people just can't seem to prioritize your meeting over the other ones. That can make a huge difference on how productive you are and how much work you can get done in a day or even a matter of weeks if you aren't able to get the answers that you need in time. I would say that this really needs to be a pattern for it to count and be considered a huge red flag, but it also just doesn't make you feel very valued or appreciated. On the other hand, with deadlines are going to be really helpful because they give you a shared sense of urgency and also a shared sense of when this thing is going to get done. However, if deadlines are being constantly pushed, then it leads to the question of, is work really even getting done, or what's happening with the work that causes this deadline to constantly be pushed further and further out? Are people cutting corners, or are they simply just failing to do their job? It raises just a lot of questions that you may not necessarily have the answers to from stakeholders and leadership, and it can be really frustrating if things just aren't happening when they need to happen and people aren't being accountable or showing up for themselves. If this is happening to you, then you should definitely talk to your manager, and they should be able to give you some good guidance and advice on how to manage it, because it's going to look different depending on your situation and the context that is surrounding it that I know absolutely nothing about. If it's your manager doing this to you though, then you should probably take a good look at your relationship with your manager and see where it stands. So those are the green and red flags to look out for at your next internship or full-time job. Some of these may feel really small or nitpicky when it comes down to it, but I promise that once you're put into a position where you're seeing all these red flags around you, it can feel really stressful, isolating, and just overall you feel undervalued where you are. As always, feel free to schedule a coffee chat with me using the link in the description box down below, or join my Discord channel to join in on the conversation. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week for a brand new video. Bye.